Hello, friends, and welcome to Much Review About Nothing. In this case, the grudge is referring to what the audience now has against the filmmakers once they've seen the movie. On this podcast, we review a movie we haven't seen through cultural osmosis and what we can find on the internet. I'm your host, Billy Greer.
And we're your co-hosts, Jake Greer and...
Wait, Luke Greer, but you said that in the past tense, like...
Who said what?
Jake said we were. I think I heard him say we were your hosts.
Yeah, I said we're your co-hosts, Jake Greer and Luke Greer. It's what I say every single time.
Well, I think I misheard you. It sounded like we were your co-hosts. Like, oh my goodness, did we die?
Yes.
Are we ghosts
I'm
now?
podcasting with the ghosts of Jake and Luke.
We have a grudge against you, apparently.
Yeah, Billy murdered us.
He died in the horrible podcast fire.
We raided his mini fridge and he took revenge.
I set the studio on fire with us in it, and I was the only survivor.
I do it
Revenge.
again for another Snapple.
Sorry, there's none of those currently.
Aw, I killed myself for nothing.
Okay, so welcome to, I guess this is going to be our only Halloween themed episode for the year.
Yeah, as frequently as we get episodes out.
Well, normally
Yeah.
people do one Halloween episode a year.
Yeah, but I mean, some people can get a few more out, like two or three.
We might do some Halloween bonus material.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, this is the Much Review About Nothing Halloween extravaganza, or needs to rhyme. Halloween haberdashery. Halloween.
Halloween hell. No.
Well, I thought of that, but I don't know. Okay, we'll workshop the names.
I don't know.
We'd have to rework it a bit.
We are the Halloweenies?
Yeah.
Yes.
The weenies of Halloween. Okay, this is...
It's really dumb. Welcome
really
to
bad.
Introspection Inspection. I'm just kind of throwing that out there.
Right. We need to get into that. I don't know did anyone really have anything?
Not particularly, other than I'm enjoying our current analytics and all that, so everything's going good. On our side.
I don't know. Joe Rogan hasn't invited us on his podcast, so can we say that we're doing a good job?
Yeah, that's true. You haven't truly made it until you're on Joe Rogan, I guess. So, moving forward...
The movie we're not watching today?
Yes, I guess we'll go ahead because I don't think I really have anything. So.
Yeah, it's the movie we're not watching is Grudge 2020.
Right.
Came out earlier this year, right? Around January, I think?
I think so, because I totally forgot it came out this year. I was like, oh yeah, the Grudge movie from 2018. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
It's an American version of a Japanese horror film, like The Ring. So.
Didn't they already do one in 2004? Which one was that?
Yeah, there was the original Japanese ones. Then they did it in America in the early 2000s, and I think that had 3 of them. And then there was the big lull. Now there's this again. I don't know what it is about the Grudge that keeps Hollywood coming back for more, but
it's a timeless classic, Billy. You know, it needs to be covered again and again.
Timeless classic that I just now heard of.
Well, I've heard that. I actually haven't seen it. The Japanese Grudge is a blind spot for me. Even all those kind of classic Japanese early horror movies, or not early, maybe early, was it early 90s, early 2000s? I can't remember exactly when the Japanese ones came out, but all those classics that got adapted into American films, I actually haven't seen any of those, which I kind of count myself as an Asian cinema connoisseur, so I do need to go back and watch those. But yeah, The Grudge is something I don't know that much about, and to me it just seems to be kind of your typical ghost story. There's mad ghosts and they do freaky things to people. And basically I was just curious why this is such an enduring property.
Why The Grudge out of everything?
Yeah. Because there's a million, well not a million, but there's at least a new ghost movie every year, it feels like. there's The Conjuring, there's Insidious. So I'm curious why they went back to the well on this one.
Well, it could be the name. Think about it.
Like, went back to the well. They got pulled in by...
By Samara. Yeah.
The name is The Grudge, and, grudges are very, long-standing.
I see, they're hard to get rid of.
Yeah, so this movie, this idea, is holding a grudge against either Hollywood or the people, and it keeps coming back.
Well, it's obviously not satisfied with the quality of its pictures.
Yeah, it wants a good Grudge movie. The Grudge itself wants a good Grudge movie, but it can never quite get it.
So the Grudge is holding a grudge against Hollywood, and the Grudge involves the Grudge trying to get Hollywood to make new Grudge films.
Yes.
You
figured it out, Billy.
All makes perfect sense.
It's grudges all the way down.
Yeah. Okay, I want to get into the dynamic discussion. I don't want to spend too long here in the intro, so let's go ahead and watch the trailer.
I agree.
So we can officially break into things.
There could be a bunch of people poorly lit and screaming at things.
Well,
That's most movies.
let's see if Luke's right. It's feeding time.
It's feeding time.
It's feeding time.
Never do that again.
Move forward without comment.
Kiss me, fat boy.
Well, it's everything I imagined it would be.
It's at least the trailer is somehow very comedic, I guess, or it's just very funny.
It's one of those context things where if you've watched enough horror movie trailers, it just kind of feels like the greatest hits, and it's been done so much it becomes comical.
Yeah.
But I honestly feel like the whole Grudge series has kind of lived and died on that whole hand coming out of your head while you're in the shower, because it's a very arresting image, and they use it in like every single one.
Oh,
practically.
seriously?
Well, I know, obviously in the beginning, in the first one, obviously, I'm not sure if it shows up again. I'm assuming it probably shows up in the American remake. I'm thinking like each time they reboot The Grudge, that you got to have the hand in the hair, and I feel like that's such a compelling image. Maybe that's the reason why they keep coming back to it. They're like,
They just like that image.
yeah,
Maybe
the hand in the shower is it's a scarier image than we've ever had before. If we can get that working.
Don't you think it would be better if the hand popped out other hairy parts of the body? Like he's up here and you see it come out of his armpit or his chest or maybe...
Yeah, and he cuts it's out of his pubes. Whoa, you really need a cleaning down here. Because that's what I was thinking. Maybe, it's all about like, if you die in a rage, you come back as the Grudge, a grudge ghost, and you torment everyone.
So,
but maybe it's just a ghost that is really focused on hygiene. Because think about it. Every time they go in that house, it's in the bathtub.
Yeah,
it's trying to help you shower.
Soaking.
And if the way you become a grudge ghost is due to rage, does that mean that he's a gamer? Or at least most rage ghosts are gamers?
That would make sense.
So does that mean if you die in other emotions, you become back a ghost of that? So if you die in extreme anger, you have a grudge.
Yes.
If you die in extreme happiness...
You have the joy.
Yeah, you have the joy.
you make people's lives better.
Yeah.
There's like
other
the joy,
flavors of ghosts.
the depression.
Yeah.
That'd be great. It's a movie where it's like that concept of joy, but shot like a regular horror movie, but it just makes everyone's life better.
It's real
It's shot
dark.
like a horror movie, but it's kind of like a touching family film about someone like this unique force that comes into their lives and makes their lives better. Because normally it's like a dog or like an old man who's actually an angel, but now it's just someone who died really happy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I personally think it's a pro that this ghost is presenting to the kids such a good role model of cleanliness and hygiene.
And she's also, I think it's a her, is kind of helping people out. So he was looking into the bathtub, and the Grudge just pushed him away.
Yeah.
Like, hey, don't fall in the bathtub.
Yeah.
I'm bathing here. Yeah, I just took a bath.
This may all be just a misunderstanding,
I think so. Because in the canon, doesn't she come over from Japan? I was kind of positing that this might actually be a fish out of water story. The Grudge comes to America. Essentially, we see her on the plane. She's looking out, and she sees the.
she's in the toilet.
Yeah,
she can only be in bodies of water.
She goes to visit the Statue of Liberty and all that, and she climbs it, kind of thing.
And someone's hair.
A big hand comes out of the back of the Statue of Liberty's hair.
Yeah, just a massive fish out of water story. And
Yeah.
maybe she's trying to maybe she does like to frighten people, and she's trying to do things, but they're very Japanese. Nobody really associates 4 with death over here, but she keeps putting, out the number 4 all the time, trying to scare people, but nobody gets her.
I love every horror movie we review, it ends up becoming like this big misunderstanding. Because even it, I think, was actually trying to teach the kids.
Yeah.
It's very possible. And it may be a fish out of water story. I could have sworn, though, it might be in the review I pulled.
She's trying to scare Americans with Japanese horror tropes. She's like, why are they being scared?
Yeah.
Which, honestly, it's a better movie if that's the case. Although I think this is a deal where the Grudge has happened now in America, where another family has died, and they're angry about it. They're angry about dying, surprisingly. And then, because that's what I was thinking. Shouldn't there be like a cajillion Grudges across the world? Because I can't think of anyone.
Couldn't use a restroom without a hand reaching up.
I know every
household will have hands coming out of their heads.
Yeah, because everyone who gets murdered is not going to be very happy about it.
No.
Maybe they're not a grudge, but there might be like an irritation or a vexation, like lesser levels. But still, like almost every house in America is going to have someone lurking in the bathtub, it would seem.
In fact, I think the real estate agents would be like, the selling point is that nobody's actually been murdered here. There's no grudge here.
There's no grudge. It's grudge-free house. It's one of the few. It's new. So this one, it does have a couple of grudges. There's one in the shower head. There's one in the closet, but they're very mild grudges. They weren't too upset when they died.
We're actually gonna gas the house, and we'll get rid of those grudges for you.
We gotta fumigate with holy water.
Yeah, maybe that's what they do. It's a constant battle between all the grudges that pop out, and like the real estate and the whole industry that's built up on exterminating grudges.
Yeah, or I was thinking you just get a big discount. Like for every grudge, we take like $10,000 off the asking price.
You're right.
It's they're learning to work around the grudge. I guess we would. This is like some universe. That's kind of an interesting premise of a universe where ghosts are so prevalent that we've had to learn ways to work around them and like exterminate them, kind of like Ghostbusters, but on a huge scale.
There's crosses everywhere.
We give the ghost name tags. We don't have to keep shouting what's their name. We can just go, you're Michael. I don't have to keep asking. Like, I'm Michael. This is my age. So that keeps the shouting down to a minimum.
They write it on like a blackboard they hang on the fridge so everyone knows what their ghost is.
You got Michael, age 6 in this house.
Yeah.
Larry, age 32. All right, that's the ghosts that live here.
For Michael, you spin a top and he gets distracted by it. For the older ghost, you turn on, you leave the television on while you're gone, so he has something to do.
Yeah,
play kids.
Don't leave any chairs out in the hallway; they will get knocked over.
Yeah, lock your silverware up. This is a great idea.
Have a good drainage system for your bathroom, because they're always filling up the tub. They're always taking a bath.
Always leaving their
always
hair.
filthy.
Yeah.
So, and we could call this Ghost World, only. That title's been taken by another thing, but that has no ghosts in it, and I don't understand why it's called that, so we'll take the name back. This would be True Ghost World.
Yeah, Ghost World.
But yeah, on a more serious note, I just noticed that they always try to do this whole adapting Asian movies in America, and besides the original Ring, I can't really think of many instances where that has worked out.
I mean, yeah, we have better CGI, so it's kind of weird,
Well, that's it. We have better CGI, and there's a lot of people who are like, "Oh, American horror, ew. I only watch Asian cinema, Asian horror." And to a certain extent, I'm kind of that way. But I don't want to be the guy who's like, "Oh, America's never made any good horror," because we have. But to me, Japanese and Asian horror has this like level of rawness and extremity that a lot of times, and this is true of like European horror as well, that a lot of times American horror will not dare plumb the same depths. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, American horror.
Isn't European horror just documentaries of Eastern Europe?
I mean, yeah, to be fair, kind of.
American horror, a lot of times, I mean, this is a general statement, but it feels dumbed down for the masses, essentially.
Yeah.
It's just like jump scare, loud noise, music, it's really packaged and really, formulaic, I guess.
Fun.
It's to get teens in the theater to scream and have a good time.
Yeah.
It's like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It's like a ride you go on, which isn't inherently anything wrong with that per se, but there's usually, and every culture has their share of cinematic garbage.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely. But there's usually, I don't know, a more I don't want to say like mature approach to horror, but a more like serious approach where it's taken more seriously.
A more thoughtful approach.
Yeah, and it's not treated like the junk food kind of the movie world. It's treated as just another movie.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how in Japan animation is treated with respect, whereas in America, like 2D animation is for kids.
Yeah.
Strictly.
Or it's incredibly raunchy. And that's it.
Yeah. There's no middle ground. It's not treated as just another medium. It's for
Horror
kids.
Walt Disney.
Yeah. But yeah, so I just feel like as a rule, you're asking for trouble when you try to adapt something that originally came from Asia, especially a horror movie.
Should we have some sort of con?
Yeah.
And at least in the trailer, they're just abusing a violin. It was very sad to hear, the wail of a violin. That violin's going to hold a grudge, I think.
It's going to be a violin ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the violin is the scariest instrument because you can make some horrible screeching sounds with it. Think back to Psycho.
Yeah.
That probably started that.
Or my violin lessons.
Yeah, Luke's recitals.
I still respect the violin. You just really need to devote your whole life to it.
Yeah,
It's never going to sound good. I realize that.
It's very hard to... It's one of the hardest instruments to get to sound good.
Yeah,
There's like already like a barrier to entry right from the start.
Massive barrier.
There's going to be years where you're just gritting your teeth through your brother or your child just...
Yeah.
No matter how good they get at those early stages, it's always going to have a little whine to it.
I played the minuet pretty good, but that was about it.
But this has been the Woodwind Corner with... or Woodwind.
Woodwind?
Woodwind? I don't think you know what instruments, Billy.
I'm Lily
This has been the brass
Yachty.
corner.
Lily Yachty. I started with wood, and then I always have one big muck up like per episode.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
Well, I think that I'm like Lil Yachty. I think that you blow on a cello. The string, it has wood at the beginning, and that's why I started with that, and then I ruined myself forever.
It's a string instrument, Bill.
Yeah, no one will ever take me seriously again.
And
especially not after last episode where I did Crouching Tiger, Fighting Dragon instead of Hidden Dragon. I was mortified because Luke brought it up and I wasn't sure what I said, and I was like, oh.
You're the one who liked that movie, too.
I know, I don't know why I said Fighting Dragon.
It's a better title.
Look, I'm one of these people who, by all accounts, should not have a podcast, and yet here I am, okay? So I guess let's move on before I embarrass myself further. So yeah, I didn't have much of a take on this besides adapting Asian horror as kind of a lost cause. Like you're more the person who brought this to our attention. Was there something that grabbed you? Or was it just, another horror movie came out, we can do it for 2020?
We just kind of discussed it one day, like what horror movie do we want to do? And you're the one that actually brought it up, I think. And I said,
I can't even remember.
I either read it off a list or you brought it up. I can't remember how it kind of came in, but it was just kind of another, I guess, schlocky American horror film.
I think we started talking about it when I was taking a shower and all these hands bursted out my head. I was like, guys, fingers in the shower.
We got ourselves a grudge here.
Yeah, and they're like, that reminds me about I'm not horrified by the fact that ghosts are tormenting Luke in the shower. That reminded me of what we could do on the podcast.
For some reason, only Luke has been tormented by the ghost. All of us have been fine.
Don't look out in the property.
That's really weird, especially since you guys are the dead ones here. You guys died in the podcast fire that I started to avenge my
right. Now
mini fridge.
We have a grudge against you.
Yeah, so it's a series of grudges apparently. Luke is murdered apparently, but
I'm not telling.
So yeah,
so are we proposing that there are now grudge chains where grudge ghost, maybe his grudge guy dies, and so now he has a grudge against a ghost, and the ghost has a grudge against someone else.
Yeah.
So grudge chains exist.
I don't know, that real estate agent who I assume got killed, is he a grudge ghost? I mean, he's probably really angry that he died trying to sell a house.
Specifically, if you get murdered by a grudge ghost, do you become a grudge ghost to that grudge ghost?
And then when someone else walks into your chain of vision or your line of vision, you kill them and they become a grudge ghost to you.
Right.
So How do the grudge ghosts get anything done? Because they're all grudging each other now, and they're.
I wonder if there's a really good ghost bureaucracy. It's just like, or court, and you know, eventually you just go to ghost court, and everyone just kind of figures out their differences.
Wait, this is Beetlejuice now?
You get some sort of like, okay, this grudge ghost killed you. He's got to give you some sort of payment. But after that, you can't grudge another ghost. Now you have to grudge living humans.
Yeah.
But remember, if you kill one, maybe that's why the ghost in the bathtub was so reticent to kill John Cho and only like caressed his cheek. Maybe he's like, man, if I kill him, it's going to be paperwork.
Right.
He's going to grudge me for a little while before the officials get onto it.
Ghost cops, ghost police.
This is the Ghostbusters.
So the ghost world is getting even deeper now.
Yeah.
Well, like I said,
even they have bureaucratic problems.
We're just recreating the plot of Beetlejuice
now,
right
you
now.
guys do not want to know what happens after a war, all right? Wars are the messiest things, all
That's
right?
what I'm saying. There's be whole countries just full of angry ghosts.
Especially Germany.
It'd be every square inch. Yeah, it'd be full of them.
Angry German grudge ghosts. Can you believe that? You never be able to
They're
sleep.
grudge ghosts, and they're Nazis.
I'm gonna have to cut this out, but I wanted you guys to know what joke I was thinking about, where it's like, yeah, there's gonna be grudge ghosts of all these angry. That begs the question. Okay, at this point is where I cut from my horrible joke that will not make it to the podcast,
Yes.
unfortunately, even though it made Luke and Jake laugh quite a bit.
Sacrifices of humor.
Yes. Okay, yeah, so just another botched Asian horror adaptation. It was dumped in January. January is the dumping ground for bad horror movies. I don't know. To me, it doesn't make any sense, because wouldn't you wait until at least October where you'd probably make more money back? Have we talked about this before? I think by default.
In general, isn't January a bad time for movies?
Yeah.
Like the early parts of the year are for some reason a bad time for movies.
Because everyone spent their money at Christmas.
I guess so.
And everyone's just like saving their cash. Yeah, that's why they dump bad movies, because they're like, well, we may as well get them out here because no one's going to want to see like our big tentpole films.
And there's not much competition.
Yeah. But I was just thinking, for horror, even the worst horror movies do pretty good in October.
I guess it really is just the competition.
Oh,
then.
why October?
I don't know. It's a mystery. I have no clue why. But it's,
October just does good for horror.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, is there a correlation?
Yeah, why are we releasing this in October specifically?
I cannot remember anymore. What the heck is a podcast? Ever since that horrible podcast fire, I can't remember anything. I filled my mini fridge, of which you raided all the snacks out. I filled it up with gasoline, lit it on fire, and threw it at you guys. And then the whole studio burned down.
But wait, can't our little brother only see dead people, Billy? And no one else needs to pay attention to you but him.
Wait a minute.
Well, we're going to Ghost Court, guys.
Didn't our younger brother, he claimed he saw a ghost one time.
Right, so back in our old house, we had this long hallway and a mirror at the very end. He said he saw like a little girl in like the bottom part of the mirror that's like refracted differently.
Yeah,
but it was probably just him.
That always freaked me out a little because, and I know it's stupid because I want to believe in ghosts really badly, but I haven't seen any evidence. But
what are you talking about? They shout their names, they knock over chairs. What more do you want?
But just the fact that it was a little kid, for some reason, I've seen too many horror movies, so for some reason that always bothered me, that maybe there was some which is weird because the house was built fairly recently. Our parents built it.
Yeah.
So it's not like it was there for years.
If you built on a previous burial site,
that's true. They may have been a dead little girl.
And at night we'd go around saying, "Where are you, ghosts?" And then at one point I felt a kick in my back and it got real cold.
Yeah, and I got a headache. I just wasn't feeling very well.
Yeah.
It couldn't have been just an average sickness or anything. But
and then we saw this strange wisp or light flutter around,
which couldn't be light refracting off a dust mote or something.
It was the only thing to watch in a hotel room.
The Ghost Hunters.
I love those shows. They're hysterical.
They're fantastic.
I just like it when they're just screaming like, "What's your name?" I'm older. I'll never forget that.
Because our family, we've had minimal experience with the supernatural. That what Sam saw was really the biggest one. But I always thought it was weird that you had Jake. You had an imaginary friend that was a ghost.
Oh yeah,
named Donald.
Yeah, back when I was real young, we were
Right.
Can we say Donald?
That's what we can say, Donald.
we were
It's a
moving
name.
around a lot. I created an imaginary friend named Donald, who was who was an actual ghost.
Yeah.
He looked classic like a ghost, like a kid in a sheet. Basically, was how he looked like. He had,
Can you explain how he died, Jake?
Oh yeah, so he was driving to the park, and a tree fell on him and killed him.
Yeah.
In the car.
Yeah.
Now, what you guys may not know
Uh-huh.
is that with my sister Eve, she didn't actually have one, but she created one because I created one.
Mm-hmm.
We created a whole cast of ghosts, and they died in different ways. So there's one who died by falling off a tree.
Was it related? Was he like in the tree that fell
No,
down?
no, he fell off a tree that was specifically on a hill all alone.
I see.
So, the
A lot of tree death.
Yeah,
That's
well, I
what
mean,
it's like.
trees were kind of my thing back in the day. I used to
Yeah.
climb them all the time.
Well, maybe that was like your deep, dark fear is that while climbing one day you would just fall.
Yeah.
Or he was afraid that a tree might fall and kill him.
Well, it's all tree related, because
Yeah, I
I
can't
forgot
remember.
Jake was a real climbing guy back in the day.
Yeah, I can't remember how the rest died because there was a whole host of them.
I got
at
stuck
the
in a
time.
tree.
But yeah, specifically, he has one big circular eye, and that's about it.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
I never knew exactly
just
what
like,
he looked like.
It was like an impression almost.
Yeah.
So he looked
Huh.
like a classic ghost. It was rounded, fluttery, and
Yeah.
kind of one big circle eye on the side. Yeah, it was real weird.
It's weird how I don't think if you did, I forgot. I don't think you ever explained what he looked like to me, but I always assumed he was a sheet ghost for some reason. I guess just 'cause
Yeah,
that's
he
the
was just a
natural
sheet
one.
ghost.
I always thought he was Donald Duck.
Well, I kind of had that. I think I always gave him Donald Duck's hat in my
Yeah,
mind.
I don't know. I thought Jake was talking about Donald Duck a lot, so I used to imagine a ghost version of Donald Duck.
Okay, but
I wonder if he has a grudge against trees.
well, eventually one day I just kind of realized, he kind of melded with my self-conscious. Like when I grew up to
Yeah.
kind of be aware of it,
Yeah.
and then he was just kind of gone essentially.
Oh, he's like the pink elephant
yeah,
from inside.
it's exactly that. You just kind of realize,
the
this
thing
is
is
the thing.
that, yeah.
But he kind of almost melded with my
becomes
self-conscious.
part of you.
Yeah.
You were
It was-
partly possessed by Donald.
It's really creepy if you think about it, but that's
Yeah.
one day I just kind of had a realization. It was almost like waking up. It's
that is
super-
weird. I didn't know about that part of it.
Actually, friends are creepy.
It almost is like a splintering of a child's psyche, not in like a traumatic way,
Right.
but more like they.
It's a coping thing.
Yeah, it's when you get older, you're able to view yourself from multiple angles. Like there's the you inside, there's the you how you see yourself.
Right.
But maybe as a kid you can't really wrap your head around that, or you're not consciously aware of that. So you kind of create this other entity, which is just you, but is the externalized view of the world. I
And
guess.
it was me because I would say in mirrors,
Yeah.
oh, this is Donald. So there's that aspect to it.
Okay. But admittedly, it is not getting less creepy the more we talk
it's
about
really
it.
creepy. Imaginary friends are incredibly
Yeah.
creepy every time.
There's nothing wrong with it, but you can kind of understand how parents feel when their kid has an imaginary friend.
Well, that's why it's always in a lot of horror movies. It's such a big part. It's
Yeah.
like an inherently creepy thing that your kid is just talking to someone.
And
who's
just
not there.
advice, because I have researched this, because
Yeah.
I was one, ignore it. Or don't really acknowledge it that much. That is the best way to handle imaginary friends.
Okay, this is getting even creepier because now you're giving advice on how to handle it as if it's not within your control.
Well, I mean, no, as a parent.
Oh, okay.
As a
I was gonna
parent
say
who has a kid, as a kid, you just come up with stuff. It's imagination.
You dress up, you play make believe.
Yeah, it's part of that as well. But as a parent, just ignore it and go on. Essentially, that's what my parents did with me. And
Okay,
it worked out for the best. And I looked it up.
I just got irritated with you because you start talking. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I'd start
come
talking.
on.
It was what? Oh, that's right. Because
This is not the Jake imaginary friend part.
yeah, well, it's a lot to talk
it's
about.
more interesting than the film.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So Eve was wondering who I was talking to because I talked to him at night
Out loud.
Out loud.
I did not fully. I thought this is one of those things where you just made him up for kicks.
No.
I didn't realize how,
Yeah, I would talk.
deep this
You
went.
didn't have to share the room with it. He would just talk. Okay, you couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
I would have had a lot more sleepless nights if I knew, the depths of Donald.
Yeah, I would talk to him. Eve was wondering for several nights who I was talking to until I told her. Then she created Sarah. I think was it no. Was it Sarah? I think it might have
I
been
can't
Sarah.
remember her name. I just assumed she did it just to mimic you.
Yeah, because we hung out a ton as children.
But yeah, Donald is always...
No, he's incredibly...
I always found him eerie, but I did not truly understand, like, how much of a life of his own he had.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Yeah.
It's really creepy.
And now whenever I talk to someone, they have like a Bluetooth on, they start talking, I think like, okay, well, I've dealt with this before, in a like creepy way, in a more creepy way.
That's hysterical. I didn't realize that it was...
To be perfectly honest with you, I was kind of like you. I didn't know how far this went. I just thought Jake was messing with me as a kid.
No, this is completely serious.
I thought it was just one of those kid things. We're like, oh yeah, I have an imaginary friend, and it's just something I made up to kind of like, pass the time.
It's not conscious like that at all. It's entirely...
That's weird. That's interesting. I wonder if it's a middle kid thing. I wonder how many middle kids.
I don't know. It's just entirely unconscious, though.
Yeah.
Strangest thing.
All right, well...
Billy's looking at me a little weird there.
Well, at the same time, it's creepy, and at other time, it explains quite a bit. Now that we're,
What is that supposed to be?
Intriguing, but highly disturbing.
All right, well, I did have an article.
All right, let's
it's
take a
just
look.
kind of a review. I don't even know if it's worth going through, because the whole Donald saga is way more interesting.
Foster some imaginary friends must have been weird for you, Jake.
You're like, this isn't correct at all. That's not how it goes.
I mean, it is correct, though.
I guess so.
I wonder if Donald went there.
Oh, probably.
Okay,
But
so
he's not really an imaginary friend. He's a legit dead guy.
wonder how much that overlaps.
Because I think the earliest view might have been like when we were traveling around. I think it wasn't Colorado. It was sometime before that. I was running around the house, or a house at the time, and I swear he kind of came up there because I was just playing alone.
Mm-hmm.
So it slowly
He's
morphed.
playing alone. The creepy music is playing. And
Yeah.
it slowly zooms in on the door.
Let's see. I'll just kind of read the ending here.
Oh, spoilers.
Well, not the ending of the movie, the ending of the article.
Oh, well, spoilers anyway. You might want to read the article.
But Pesci, it's Pesce. I don't know, but Pesci, the director, Pesci sounds worse. But Pesci is stuck with certain standbys this time. John Cho plays the unfortunate shower taker who realizes mid-shampoo that there is an unfamiliar hand in his hair, and out-of-focus specters who sneak up behind people or disappear and reappear with light switch flicks are not the stuff of primal terror. The remake remains cursed by a fatally hokey concept. And that's what I'm saying. It's the whole ghost thing needs a shot in the arm, because the whole like, oh, what's that in the background? Oh, if I turn off the light, it shows up. We need new things for them to do in the house.
Yeah.
Why isn't there more like stuff with computers? That's kind of a relatively modern facet.
They tried to do that. It's not working.
Well, they did do it, and it's actually a Japanese movie called Pulse, where there's like internet ghosts that are supposed to be really good. But all I'm saying is maybe not computers. But
So are you suggesting that the ghost should hold the people hostage, saying if you don't do this, I'll release all your information out on the web and these dirty secrets you don't want released,
I'll download 3 tetrabytes of porn on your hard drive.
and send it to all your coworkers?
honestly, that would be scarier.
Or it just does it. It gets into your computer.
It just ruins your professional life.
It gets a hold of your credit card and buys a whole bunch of useless stuff.
Yeah, I'm saying there's more things we can do with ghosts besides just the age-old, oh no, there's something weird in my house.
They go to the kitchen,
in the corner.
They open the fridge. They pick up the milk jug. It's completely empty, but it's been put back there. They pick up the orange juice jug. It's completely empty as well, but it's been put back in there. He's like, what the crud?
And like earlier, it's like another character threw him away, and then the ghost got him back out, and it pranks another character.
Well, I was thinking the ghost just drank it all.
Oh, I
and
see.
Put it back.
Yeah. Or someone drinks like out of the bottle and the ghost is in there and they drink the ghost.
I think Casper did that already.
Probably. All right, well, that's not a good sign if we're aping Casper for our horror movie.
I vaguely remember that movie on Cartoon Network.
I think 2 cons maybe are that the ghost genre needs help.
Needs a kick in the pants.
Needs steroids, and also the movie is a tad comedic or unintentionally comedic.
Well, we'll use the words the article said. Hokey.
Yeah, the movie's hokey.
It's nothing but a hokey pokey fest. And maybe we give Japanese horror movies too much credit. Maybe they're just not that good.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's like any country, there's a fair share of garbage. It's just they seem to hit like higher highs a lot of times, or maybe it's just the like exotic quality.
You also have to think that the things that are ported over to America were big enough in Japan
to get over.
Right. That's the other thing that we don't
hear about all the
you don't hear
stuff.
About all the garbage that is local.
That's true. Yeah, and like I was saying, I think there's like the exotic quality. It's like, oh, I watch Japanese horror. I watch French horror.
I know how to use a VPN. I'm better than you.
And there is that element to it, but.
I mean, all French movies are horror.
I guess they. Fair enough. Now that we've alienated all our French listeners.
Well, even they realize it.
Okay, God.
I couldn't help myself.
I've already alienated the Eastern Europeans.
Okay. I guess so. We're not going to have any listeners left.
No, just us.
Perfectly balanced.
Do we want to move on to random reviews?
I think that's for the best.
This movie's not getting us enough. There's barely any pro-cons. There's barely any pros.
Yeah, but it's generated so many good ideas, and we got to talk about
imaginary friends for 20 minutes.
Well, could pro be like it's leading to the Ghost World?
Yeah,
franchise?
that should be a pro, definitely. And while you do that, we're going to start with Norman Comey. Gave it 1 out of 5 stars. This movie is just bad. It is a grudge upon itself. The editing is choppy, and the nonlinear story makes a horrible treatment of the story even worse. It's mostly a bunch of people tiptoeing around in the dark, using jump scares with the same B-movie actors who keep playing the same type of roles over and over. If this is an attempt to breathe new life into this franchise, it succeeds even less than Men in Black International.
Ooh.
It was about as annoying as the guy next to me who would not stop playing with his bag of Cheetos throughout this film, which may have been about the only thing that kept me awake. Every seat was filled for this showing, and I did not hear even one audience reaction. So, pretty scathing review of The Grudge.
Well, I think nonlinear storytelling is a pro.
Okay. Haven't we given some a pro for that before?
Have we?
I don't know. So Quentin Tarantino directed this in some capacity? I want the ghost shouting N-words.
Yeah, that would be his touch.
So does that mean
Can you believe that?
The Grudge itself has a grudge against its own idea?
I was going to say that.
But it still has a grudge against Hollywood and even the populace itself?
It was kind of playing into what we were talking about, so grudge against itself.
Then we have Jenna Harshninen, I guess. Harshninen? Harshninen.
You gotta speak out your nose more.
It's hard to say the names just because it's a part of the podcast at this point. They're like 3 guys try to pronounce names. They
might be Hirschinen.
Okay.
That sounds good.
That's like 90% of that word came out of your nose.
Yeah. 3 out of 5 stars. We're still on the Google. This movie was excellent and expanded on the concept of The Grudge. And as a fan of the series,
ghosts.
I appreciate it a lot. I was puzzled because even though the movie had horrifying imagery and jump scares that should have terrified me, I was expressionless throughout the whole movie.
Wait.
I know exactly what this movie needed to make it scary. Sound. Movies usually aren't scary without sound. For me, it's the suspenseful music and the screams that terrify me. If this movie relied more on sound rather than image, it would have been terrifying. Even though it wasn't scary, I still appreciate the disturbing imagery, and the movie was decent overall. I wouldn't watch it again, but if you have nothing better to do, it's worth a watch. Just don't go into it expecting to be terrified.
So they muted the movie?
It's like there's no sound? But there wasn't the trailer. Did they take it out in the actual movie?
Is this a silent film?
Maybe.
Did they like speak and then like the car comes up with their words? What a very bold direction.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's a pro-con because it seems like it's a silent film that doesn't really benefit for being a silent film.
It's really artsy, and they lied in the trailer because they had sound.
Yeah.
And then later they just went
over
it.
It was to get Americans in theaters.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
They have to read subtitles. They're not going to show up. So this is a way to ensnare them.
No sound. Ew. I'm not.
This is worse than subtitles, though.
Yeah, it's like
hard
interstitials. Yeah. And something else I was going to say is the previous review was talking about how it's too much of people like walking around houses, like listening to noise and stuff. And that's something I've been kind of noticing about horror movies is there's always way too much fluff building up to like when cool stuff actually happens. You don't need to have so many scenes of people wandering around houses. Just get
Would it be better if it was just 90 minutes of nonstop screaming, gore, chaos?
Look, it would be more entertaining.
There's no break. It's just constant in your face.
It's just immediately. It's like a hard cut. It's just insanity. Look, I would be down for that. Okay,
You're playing at like 160 frames per second.
It's all part of Ang Lee's horrible scheme.
It's just to drive you mad.
My point is, recently, I don't know if my attention span has decreased due to like
phones,
but it just feels like a lot of movies are like 20 minutes too long.
Yeah.
You know, there's all this like, there's too much, especially in the horror movies around a house, there's too much of just people walking around in their daily routine and stuff. Just like get to the scary stuff quicker.
Yeah, big monster movies had that exact same problem.
Yeah.
We're just following, a character around for about, 40, 60 minutes, and in the final half, we got about 10 minutes of, say, Godzilla.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem with those. But I love this. I was expressionless throughout the whole movie. It's not even enough to just, but just
I didn't do a con of that.
Deadpan, just like,
I mean, you can, going back to the previous point, you can do it where the majority of it is just, them doing it. And when I think of is like Alien, a good chunk of that movie is just the suspense building.
Right, but that's a little different because it's a sci-fi setting.
Which is inherently interesting.
And the thing, too.
People dorking around a house is Scooby-Doo.
And I'm not saying, like, there shouldn't be any build-up.
Right.
Sometimes it just feels like it just goes on too long. And, like, I'm here for the scary stuff. Give me a little intro. Let me get to know the characters. And then let's go nuts.
Maybe have a few rests every so often. But I like my idea, but just 90 minutes of nonstop streaming gore.
All right.
I guess it comes down to the individual movie and what is actually occurring. Because, I don't mind a slow burn. It's just there has to be something there to keep me going. And a lot of times, horror just feels like...
Watching the equivalent of like a Ghost Hunter episode does not qualify.
Yeah, well, a lot of horror movies feel like an album where all the kind of filler tracks are up at the front and they finally hit you with the single towards the end of it. That's the way it feels. But.
All right, next we have Gyro or Euro mixes, depending on 5 out of 5 stars. I would recommend people to see the movie. The sudden unexpected jerks are well implemented. It is a must-watch for fresh horror fans. Plot is all good. This movie doesn't belong to the Grudge series in any way. It is just a sub-movie with elements from the old Grudge series. Sam Raimi's movies are truly amazing and well-structured in terms of horror. I don't know why people hated this movie so much, but it was worth watching as a horror fan.
All right. What was that? The sudden jerks?
The sudden unexpected jerks. That's what I really want to talk about with this movie. Yeah. It's either talking about the choppy editing or there are a bunch of jerks who come in and start, wrecking the house, being mean to the ghost, being mean to the cast.
It's kind of a weird part. They kept it in for unknown reasons.
Yeah, it's like 60 minutes in, all of a sudden, a bunch of like West Coast kind of jerks came. Hey man, frat boys came in and just started wrecking the set.
I just gave this ghost $1,000 in a new car.
The West Coast Jersey Phoenix is in the middle of it too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's the West Coast Jersey.
They throw down a beer keg and start chugging. Okay, pros.
They throw a party in the Grudge house.
Are the jerks a part of the Grudge curse, or are they independent force?
They're a completely independent force, even from the creators of the movie itself.
Oh, but they just filmed it anyways?
Yeah, they just rated. They had no choice in the matter.
I'm putting the jerks down as...
They told the director to keep it in, they'll give them a swirly.
Yeah. And two, they only had the film locations for a couple of days, and these unexpected jerks came in, so...
Well, it's kind of...
But they're well implemented. That's the thing. Like, it makes sense inside the realm of the movie. That's why why they kept it in.
It's kind of, it makes the movie a little more interesting than it would be normally, because it's kind of got almost a documentary element to it.
And maybe the grudge ghost is trying to get rid of the unexpected jerks.
Yeah.
And so our protagonist and the ghost team up against the jerks.
So it almost becomes this meta narrative within the film of everyone trying to get rid of this real life hassle, this real life problem. But they filmed that too, making it part of the movie.
Yeah, it's genius
filmmaking.
filmmaking.
Really
He said it himself. Raimi is a good director. He's like,
But he didn't direct it. He's like the producer.
oh well, he lied to me then.
Well, he doesn't know.
Well, no, he just says Sam Raimi's movies are truly amazing. He didn't say he directed. It's
Yeah,
just the
but-
movies he
Well,
produced.
he was on there producing whatever. He's all like, yeah, keep that in.
But they pasted Sam Raimi's name all over it because
And
they know.
then he says, oh, and well structured in terms of horror. So he is complimenting Sam
Because
Raimi.
he thinks it is because they
Yeah.
did that intentionally. Because schlubs who just glance at the trailer and like, oh, Sam Raimi did this. He did Evil Dead and Spider-Man. I like that guy. You know, I've heard that name before. I'll watch this.
He did the Evil Dead Spider-Man.
Yeah. Like, I gotta have a confession. I know it's gonna get my cinema buff card revoked, but I do not like the original Evil Dead that much. Like, it's an interesting curio, and I mean, it's basically a film student because he made it when he was really young and it's his first movie, but I don't personally find it that entertaining to watch. It's interesting as like a historical thing. And I might talk about this more at the ending, my horror movie preferences and where I kind of come into the overall discussion. But yeah, I'm sorry. I know everyone goes on how it's a classic, and I guess it is, but I just like, I don't know. It's kind of like what Luke was saying about a movie where it's just screaming and yelling for 90 minutes.
And gore
yeah.
for 90 minutes.
And that's kind of what Evil Dead is. And it is interesting from that standpoint, but I did not enjoy watching
I
it
don't know
that
what
much.
the Evil Dead is. Is that the one with the lawnmower and the zombies?
No, it's where Bruce Campbell and his friends go to a log cabin, and I think they end up reading the Necronomicon.
Oh,
And they unleash this
that's
evil
the
force.
Oh yeah, that's the Evil Dead.
And there's,
I get
roots
it.
and weird puppet. They turn into like weird looking puppet zombies. That might just because of the
time?
Yeah, the effects. Of the
Yeah,
time.
okay. Now I know. I don't know why I forgot.
Look, I'm sorry, horror buffs. I had to get that off my soul. I know I've already.
That's the one with the laughing trophies. When you're in
Yeah,
the house
I
and all
think-
laughing.
Yeah, either that or it's the second one. I can't
Okay, well
remember.
now I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about. I had never really heard it referred to.
I know I've already destroyed the audience's faith in me with the woodwind thing, and this is probably just the nail in the coffin, but I had to bring it up. All right, you can go on.
All right. Then we have Jennifer Chekopi, I guess.
Okay, yet again.
It keeps going great. You know, these names, they just keep going. All right. 4 out of 5 stars. Spoilers ahead. Spoiler alert.
spoilers.
I saw this tonight, and it had to do with Grudge series. The mom,
A little bit of conflict there between the reviewers. One
I
guy
know, yeah,
doesn't,
the mom felt that same house from the first felt off. If she had stayed in Japan, it would have been boring. I like she took the story back to the States.
So there is.
So that's what I was talking about.
Yeah,
It's
it
a
is
fish out of water. Yeah, it's fish out of water story.
Why did one of the reviews I said where is it like a new house, but the Japanese ghost she's like a transfer student. She's like, I'm going to go live with this American family
She
of
runs
ghosts.
out of the house with a toast in her mouth.
Yeah. Here's another plot idea.
But it doesn't quite work because she's now in America, see? So fish out of water story.
Yeah, transfer student ghost. I'm gonna write that.
How kawaii.
Yeah, it's gonna be a manga romance. I'm gonna be number 1 on Webtoons.
So if we don't have that fish out of water story. And while you do that,
Why?
Their commercials irritate me. It's the same thing over and over. And oh, this hot boy, does he like me? Oh, he does. Oh.
Luke is offended by the concept of romance.
Yes.
Well, no, I'm not offended by the concept of romance. I'm offended by them giving me the same advertisement,
Oh, okay.
but with a different package on it. It's like 10. It's like all they offer is just like, oh, I'm a slightly ugly girl. There's this hot guy who likes me, does he not? And it's like 10 of those. It's just like, leave me alone.
This has been Old Man Corner with Luke Greer.
hey Luke, most like novels and webtoons and stuff are almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's just how it
romance
works.
because young women read the most of those like webcomics. That's why
Yeah.
it's the most prevalent.
Anyways, back to this review.
If they had husbands, they wouldn't.
Okay.
Cut that out. Cut that out.
I have a retort, but it's kind of wasted.
Let's just keep going.
All right. This is a new sentence, by the way. And changing it up with the 3 from the first murder makes sense. First family to die of it in that house. So why do we see the girl and boy from the first one? And the back and forth makes sense as she goes through the files. It all comes together nicely. Ending may be predictable. First jump scare was a surprise. After that, a few you knew coming, but still scary. I love horror. Seen everything from the 20s, was on up, so very picky.
Seen everything from the 20s?
Like watching black and white Frankenstein
Does
movie.
she watch Nosferatu?
I don't know.
Maybe that's why she liked it. Because remember, there was no sound.
I mean,
it was interstitials.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why she liked it.
She could be talking about this year, so I don't know.
Is there even a point to complain about jump scares now? They're a part of film, canon now.
Yeah.
I know everyone complains about them. I think if used sparingly, they can be fine. I'm not even gonna bother putting a con down for jump scares. I'm over it. It's like complaining about superhero movies at this point. It's like they're here to stay.
Yeah. All right, moving on to IMDb.
How about a superhero jump scare movie?
Okay.
They already did that. It's called New Mutants.
Guy, but it's just like
okay.
a guy in a bright costume.
It's the superheroes that are doing the jump scary. Superman saves someone. He's all like, "I saved you."
It's like those old internet things, like you do the maze or whatever. All of a sudden, Superman's face just turns into a horrible ghost monster.
You remember speaking of ghosts, the ghost car one?
Yeah,
It's that car driving and like you tell your friend, oh, this car vanishes at one point or something like that, and then that monster jumps out.
Yeah.
I think we pranked our like babysitter.
Yeah.
At one point. I remember I got Luke with one of those, and it looked like someone had stabbed you in the stomach.
I think I fell out of the chair.
Reared back like, with your hands in the air. It was the funniest thing I ever saw. There was another time, I don't remember who was doing it, but I remember I was in the bathroom and I heard just a scream, from the screamer. Yeah. And apparently, like, one of you guys had engaged it and freaked Mom out because you had turned it up real loud.
Oh man, that was early internet stuff.
Mm-hmm. We grew up in the heyday of screamers.
Screamers and YouTube poop. I remember all that.
Yeah.
One guy sent to our dad's office and it scared a coworker. I think she read the email in a rage or something like that. I wanted to see it.
Okay, moving.
All right. Like I said, IMDb, we got Burke Holdermicah, 3 out of 10 stars. The review is titled, "Who asked for this?" Why was this made? Why did they think it was a good idea to remake this? Why does it take the plot of the original film and throw it out the window? Why does it look like an uninspired, totally predictable, and overall sorry excuse of a horror film? It's 2020, people. A new decade is already here. Stop remaking stuff that doesn't need to be remade. So get this. It's a remake of the film that is a remake of the Japanese horror film Ju-on, The Grudge, The Grudge,
Ju-on's New Groove.
A Swedish film.
Fantastic movie, by the way. And they took that and made it into one of the most predictable, stupid films ever. And it's already 2020. And I thought unnecessary remakes were outlawed. They should be. I don't even see who is
Has this guy been awake in the last 10 years?
He just really wants it badly. He's starting to believe it. I don't even see who is the target audience of this film. And I don't see who will watch this film a second time. Weak storyline, bad cinematography, and unnecessary jump scares makes this film not worth your money. What a complete disaster. Terrible film.
I didn't really appreciate the John Oliver review, but there it is.
Complete disaster.
All right.
It's 2020, people.
Then we have Musamil 1986, 7 out of 10. It's titled Good Horror, even old story. I watched it at cinema. We enjoyed it as much as it was horror-type suspense, thriller, and horror.
Okay.
Watch that.
It's horror times suspense, thriller, and horror?
Yeah, horror-type suspense, thriller, and horror.
I don't know the equation.
Okay, so it's a horror type. That's definitely a pro. It's a horror type suspense, thriller, and horror.
Okay, now the review I desperately want to talk about, because previously on the podcast, we've had 2 reviews from the same person, which I did not even realize.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember Oscar Albert,
Okay.
but he's the one who had the insane review on Smallfoot and Spies in Disguise.
Okay, can you give us a refresher of what?
Yeah, I'm going to go back.
Oh boy, it's rewind time.
Yeah, so here's Oscar Albert for Spies in Disguise. And remember, it's said that there's no honor amongst thieves, so it's no surprise to see Fox and friends turning upon their one-time darling game show hosted chief, aping a low-level death camp guard.
I remember this guy
Yeah,
now.
so that's him. Here's the Smallfoot.
Oh, you're doing that Francis E. Dick? It's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the one I went Francis E. Deck. Where's
Robot
Smallfoot?
computer gangster god Frankenstein.
Yeah, here's Smallfoot. He was also the last one. Oscar Albert. For at least 80 years since Bosco's time, its always eponymous Warner Brothers has used its animated shorts and features to warn we Americans of the sometimes far future against our clear and present dangers. So, if you remember that one. It's related because although it's not him,
He feels like the Alex Jones of movie reviews.
Like I say, he sounds like Francis E. Dick.
here's the part that gets me. This is by Tadpole -596 -918256. 6 out of 10 stars. He titles it and does it the exact same way as Oscar Albert.
Weird. I wonder.
Is this Oscar Albert's alternate account?
Maybe it's like a burner account or something.
All right, here's the review. 6 out of 10. According to a noxious film studio, the typical U.S. cop runs amok off their nuts, starting arson fires. American peace officers stagger around with drawn guns inside their own homes, turning off lights, says the nefarious Sony mob. This insidious outfit, the official propaganda arm of a Japanese ruling clique, still sore at losing a World War II, which they themselves infamously launched with their sneak attack on such Hawaiian world cultural heritage sites as the USS Arizona Memorial, uses the Grudge as a Trojan horse virus.
Wait, it wasn't the memorial before.
Yeah, they attacked the memorial.
It's a memorial
Wow.
because they fucked.
The time travel story.
The guy destroyed the Arizona. So don't make it a memorial.
Okay, so I just saw he was saying that the Grudge is some sort of like subliminal virus or attack.
It's a Trojan horse virus to smear our USA law enforcement heroes such as Officers Muldoon and Wilson, portraying them as unstable, superstitious, hallucinating public menaces. Leader Trump must declare a national emergency and delete Sony and its masters at the failed nation state by leveling this Isle of Doom with the thousands of close to their use by data nukes and America preemptive strike arsenal with its constant stream of demoralizing, mind-warping slander. Sony is more of a clear and present danger than any Iranian dude could ever be.
Clear present danger.
Yeah, it's high time that leader Trump shows Sony and Japan how their grudge really works.
Admittedly, this is the most lucid he has ever been. That's gotta be him.
It's gotta be
just
him.
like him.
He talks just like him. It's titled the exact same way. If you'll look where the title runs into the sentence.
Oh, okay.
Every time.
I mean, it's the only way.
show you
It's
off.
the only
What's
way
weird, though-
he can get his message to the masses is through
Reviews.
movie
Hey, look.
reviews.
Yeah,
See how
that's gotta be him.
yeah.
That's too much of a signature. But what's weird is I thought he was a little more left-leaning in his previous posts.
I have no idea.
In this one, I could have sworn he was like anti-Trump in a previous one.
Well,
maybe I'm misremembering.
Maybe he still is, but he's just like.
But he's telling him to.
Yeah, maybe he's just like, well, Sony's a bigger danger. Now, I mean, I agree with him for the wrong reasons that Sony should be removed, but I was in agreement on him there just for the wrong reasons.
So this is interesting. He thinks that this movie is clandestine Japanese propaganda.
Against two officers? Muldoon and who else?
Well, to make people lose faith in law enforcement by saying they're all like tormented by ghosts? Or he's saying like because the cops in this movie?
Yeah, they're superstitious, hallucinating public menaces.
Okay, so he's saying because the cops in this movie are handling within the world of the movie real ghosts,
Yes.
that's gonna make people think the cops in real life like hallucinate?
Yeah, are crazy. Public menaces.
and turning
Okay.
off lights in their own house?
What does that have to do with it?
So they save on electricity?
Well, he's saying that like they wander around their own houses with guns out,
Apparently,
drunkenly.
turning off lights and setting fires. and then it's just like did he name drop two cops like Muldoon and
Are this like recent event? Like I don't want to get too mired down into the recent political claptrap, but
Well, he
I have no idea. I think
It sounds very
Muldoon
Irish.
and Wilson might be the characters in the movie,
maybe.
portraying them as unstable, so yeah, it's them in the movie.
But there's an actual ghost, so are they superstitious?
This is some like fourth dimensional propaganda by the Japanese.
We've brought him up. This person is the reincarnation of Francis E. Deck.
I mean, yeah.
every single.
It's Francis. I mean, he was talking, and I'm like, okay, did Francis E. Dick resurrected?
Are we sure that's not him? Is he dead?
Yeah, he's dead. He's been dead since I think the 90s.
He's dead, but what about his computer brain inside?
Yeah.
They put him in a computer brain to try and control him, but he broke out. Now he just writes. They get this message out by writing reviews about movies.
On IMDb on multiple accounts, apparently, because he has
They're
two.
trying to delete his internet. So Francis E. Deck, I think, goes into VIP for trying to get this message out.
So we may have talked about it before, but who is Francis E. Deck again? Explain for the folks at home.
Isn't his last name D.E.C.?
It doesn't really matter, but basically he was a lawyer who went insane.
Yeah, he was a lawyer down in, I think, Louisiana or something like that. I can't remember.
It doesn't matter where he's from. Again, he's a lawyer who went insane.
He
And
just one day snapped.
He just started writing a whole bunch of like letters and stuff to like judges and people.
He just mailed this out to everyone. And
Yeah.
people would be so confused by what they're getting, and he would like ask for like typewriters and stuff.
Yeah, they're insane ramblings. And then someone on YouTube, I don't know how recently, did like voiceovers for them.
Oh, okay.
And they're fantastic. So
Yeah.
I'd recommend.
But he talks about computer brain, which would make sense that he's now just
He was,
spreading his gospel in weird areas.
He was very pro-Slavic, very pro-Polish.
Yeah, he
Okay.
believed there was a gangster computer god controlling everything, and he would send
By the CIA.
touch death tarantulas after him,
And they would be out
his associates.
and he was like saying, the CIA was out in his yard spraying poison everywhere.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, it's funny, but also very sad.
very
because
sad.
This man lost his mind.
He was a successful lawyer, and he lost his mind.
Okay, so if Mr. Deck is to be believed, I don't know why the Japanese would have such an investment in tearing down our law enforcement system.
Well, they're just trying to destroy the fabrics of our society.
Yeah. So, Khan, this may be...
Japanese propaganda from the failed nation state that started World War II by bombing our Arizona Memorial.
Yeah, they bombed the memorial that was instated because of the attack they did.
So, yeah, well, that makes sense. See, they attacked simply to get a memorial to attack.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense.
I couldn't watch the second attack, sadly.
Okay. Oh, it's always a treat when we find him. We got to keep an eye out for him.
Yeah, I now have him completely on my radar because it completely missed me that I had drawn 2 reviews from the same guy, possibly now 3 because I think it is him.
Yeah, he's like the 4th podcast. He's the 4th reviewer on our podcast.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's a ghost in the machine now. He has free reign of the internet. He's trying to spread his message.
Man, this is ghosts all over this episode.
I know, he's holding a grudge againk the entire U.S. government.
Oscar Albert has been around since 2014. He has written like 2,000 reviews.
When did Francis E. Deck die?
Okay, I'm sorry.
He died in the
basically
90s.
3,000 reviews. He's rated 3,000 movies, but he's only had 2,900 reviews.
Oh, only 2,000.
Yes.
Good grief. You know what? We might just have to do an Oscar Albert corner like on our Patreon or something.
I mean, he's got reviews on movies that date way back.
Yeah, I was right. He died in 1996.
Okay.
So the internet was a thing.
Yeah.
So he's been on since NetBIOS.
Well, I'm seeing movies that date back to the 1930s that he's reviewed.
Yeah.
Well, he would be more
profile.
familiar with those. He was born in the 60s.
yeah.
On his profile.
Yeah,
Well, we could do...
Mad Deadly Worldwide Communist Gangster Computer Guy.
Yeah.
We might be able to, like read his reviews on movies we have seen and couldn't do on the podcast anyways, but otherwise we might save him as, like, the treat that we bring out occasionally, We'll
Anytime I can find him,
Yeah.
it's hard to find specific movies inside his massive list of movies. So,
All right, well...
yeah, I just wanted to bring up Oscar Albert.
As always, as we are constantly reminded, reviews change lives.
Yeah.
Yes, especially
So-
ones written by Francis.
Yeah.
We can. I've got a 12 thing quiz from
For what? What
the New
grudge?
York Times. Should I hold a grudge? This quiz helps you figure out how hefty your grudge should be on a scale of 1 carat to 10 carats.
Why can't they just say stars or something like that? Why carrots?
I'm curious if we should save that for a Patreon episode.
We can. I just wanted to bring it up.
yeah,
I do
'cause
have a
that
quiz.
sounds fun.
But we are going long. I do
Yeah.
understand that.
And I know we wanted to, I don't know if you guys did, but wanted to make some like Halloween movie suggestions and things of that nature.
Sure. Yeah. That sounds fun.
I don't know about you guys, but Halloween is one of my favorite, I think it is my favorite holiday, at least in terms of just the atmosphere and aesthetics.
Yeah, well, I mean, near the end of the year, you got 3 big ones: Halloween,
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, Christmas. For us Americans, these are the big ones.
Yeah.
And it's hard to pick a favorite out of those.
Yeah, because like in Christmas and Thanksgiving, you get a lot of delicious food.
Yeah.
Which is their strong point. In Halloween, it's a little lighter on like, I don't know, the stuff you can do and the food you eat. But to me, just the premise and the atmosphere, as a horror movie buff, as a fan of gothic aesthetics and things like that, it really resonates with me. So I think that's why I would say if it's not my favorite holiday, it's my favorite in terms of overall aesthetics.
Right. No, I mean, Halloween's great. We always loved dressing up. We used to actually like basically volunteer at the zoo to like pass out candy and stuff like that.
Zubu, yeah.
Yeah, it's called the Zubu. And we always had a rigged game.
Yeah, for the kids, where they could throw the beanbag and knock down this little like flipper thing.
If they didn't knock it down, they didn't get a piece of candy.
Yeah.
But we had put a string behind it, so anytime they threw it, we just knock it down.
Yeah, that was the joke, and the kids always got a huge kick out of it.
Well, and the parents
or the
always-
parents did rather,
Yeah.
because the kids would think they somehow did it,
Yeah.
and the parents, because at first the parents would be like, "Oh man, if he doesn't do it, he's
Yeah.
going to be upset," and then it would fall, and the parents would start laughing.
They would get into it.
So it was a good bit, and the first year we were just everything.
Yeah.
Like our parents were like a southern couple,
Yeah.
and I was V for Vendetta.
Which did not go over
no,
well with
kids
the
were
kids.
horrified.
It was the black costume, but the white, the
Yeah.
White face.
So
And you were tall.
You would see a
tall.
hovering mask in the air.
Yeah, I can't even remember what the rest of you guys.
I was a
were.
1930s gangster. I had a Tommy machine gun that made noise.
That's right.
I don't even remember.
And then we got on a theme. I know we did.
Next was Scooby-Doo.
We did Scooby-Doo, which
I'll
is
never
cool.
bleach my hair again.
Yeah, Luke bleached his hair, which
That was
agony
awful.
because he was Fred. I was Shaggy.
I was just a monster because at the time I was younger and didn't really want to conform with the group.
right.
After that, it was Super Mario, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did Mario.
Mario a couple of
I know we
years.
did DC Heroes.
That was kind of the last one. We did Disney next.
Yeah,
I was Prince Ali.
that's right. Yeah.
Specifically,
I was Captain Hook, and I was tormented by small children who were saying, "Your hand's not real."
what was Billy with that?
I was Jafar, right?
Yeah, you were. Yeah, you were
Yeah.
Jafar.
Yeah, we had some great costumes.
Yeah.
Your hand's not real.
Like, no, I'm an amputee. It just happened to work out.
After that, like
Was
you
Sam
said,
Peter Pan?
yes, he was.
Okay, I couldn't remember. And Elizabeth was Tinkerbell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it Tinkerbell?
Can't remember what, Mom was the evil queen.
Yes.
That's right, from Snow White.
Eve was Belle, I think?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And, what the heck was Dad?
He was Genie.
That's right, he was
He
Genie.
was-
Yeah,
he
because he's
blue-faced
bald. So,
himself.
It
yeah.
was blue. It worked out so well. It was
Yeah,
really good.
yeah, it was
After that,
great.
like you said, we were the Batman family.
Yeah, and I was Joker.
Yeah.
And
They ran out
our
of
little
Batman
sister was Harley Quinn.
I was someone nobody knew.
Yeah, Jason Todd. So.
Yeah. Well, nobody at where we lived would know. You went to Comic-Con,
Yeah.
you know.
Eve
I
was
even went to Comic-Con. No one really paid much attention to me.
too obscure, that
Yeah.
one rendition.
That was before he became kind of popular.
Yeah.
He was more obscure than... And you were Nightwing.
Yeah, I'm Nightwing.
And Eve was Batgirl.
Yeah.
Dad was Batman. Mom was
Catwoman.
Yeah.
It worked out really nicely.
Yeah, and then I remember because I have a picture of me as Aquaman, and I think that's when we were the Justice League.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then Mom was...
I was Superman.
Yeah, you were Superman. Dad was Batman again.
I was
Mom
Superman
was
with a beer
Hawk
belly.
Girl.
Oh, that's right. I forgot
Eve
about
was,
that one.
I'm assuming she was Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was Wonder Woman.
Mom was Hawk Girl.
Yeah. And I was Aquaman. What were you?
I don't even remember.
You were the Flash.
Okay,
That's
the
right,
Flash.
Flash.
Yeah, and then we didn't really go over the Mario one, but I kind of switched because I was.
Yeah, we swapped out our.
I guess when I was Luigi one night and I was like Bowser another. night.
We did Mario twice in 2 different years.
That's right, because it was a big
That was
hit.
our most popular one.
Mom and Eve were
Daisy.
Daisy and Peach. Dad was usually Mario, or was he Luigi one night? I think he switched over to Bowser.
He was Bowser and Jake was Yoshi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was Yoshi.
Yeah. I could have sworn you were.
In both years, I was Yoshi.
You were Link at one point, and Eve was.
Oh, yeah, we went to a Comic-Con.
We went to
Okay,
a
that was the
Comic-Con there.
Comic-Con.
We even went to
I was
Disney
Gandalf.
dressed up. Luke and I went as Mario and Luigi.
Yeah.
And people actually loved us.
Yeah,
I actually, just kind of going, I actually signed an autograph for Luigi on somebody's
That's right, because I think there was like Japanese tourists there. Or something.
Yeah, it wasn't them, but somebody. We were riding the bus,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
someone
okay.
beside me just wanted my autograph.
Yeah.
Luckily, I knew how to spell Luigi because I previously looked it up,
Yeah.
and so I remember how to spell it. That was lucky.
Yeah, the
know.
Japanese tourists really got a kick out of us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I think I went as was I Captain Hook that one night?
Yeah.
I was Captain Hook, and there was some kid who was, I think he was disappointed he didn't get the like.
Right, he couldn't do the meet and greet with the actual Captain Hook.
Yeah, so it was like fate where they found me, and
Yeah.
I was happy to like take a picture with the kid.
We
It
made
kinda-
some kids Disney.
Yeah, I
wish
know.
come true.
We saved their vacation accidentally. We were a big hit, which is
Yeah.
funny because we're in Disney with like professional costumes and stuff, and ours were apparently good enough to get
Yeah.
noticed. It was funny.
And those are all our horror recommendations. No.
Yeah, I realized but it's
But
good.
it's way
We're-
more interesting.
Yeah, we're getting to reminisce about our Halloweens because we are a big Halloween family. And
Yeah.
in recent years, because we I don't know how much we want to convey, but we don't do the Zubu anymore, and so we kind of fallen off. I would like to do more costumes and stuff, so hopefully we can kind of restoke that.
Well, I kind of wanted to do more Comic-Con, but
yeah,
this-
recent events. Kinda,
yeah.
Hopefully we can do it next year. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So, do you guys have any horror suggestions you want to make? I got a big list.
The only suggestion I have for horror is just to live your life.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
can't- I
Some good
can't-
millennial humor here.
I can't do any more than that.
I mean, I've never been that big of a fan. 'Cause I've been
Yeah.
a massive coward most of my life, so I've never liked horror. So
Yeah,
I've only
I was-
recently seen some things like Sweeney Todd.
I've
Do you even
seen some
call that
things.
horror?
It's horror.
I prefer sci-fi thrillers.
Yeah, you would probably suggest what, Thing and Alien?
I have yet to see The Thing.
Oh, you haven't seen The Thing?
I have not.
Oh, we're gonna have to rectify that.
I've seen it kind of. Well, I
Yeah.
kind of watched it already. Just watching Sam watch it, just looking over. But I would like
Yeah.
to sit down and watch it. But I really do like Alien.
Yeah, Alien's a classic. The Thing is probably one of my favorite older horror movies of all time. I will always suggest that one. I'm trying to think when, because I was kind of the same deal where I have always had this, even as a kid, I had a fascination with horror. I think when I was like a toddler, I saw
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Night of the Living Dead
Oh.
on TV, and Dad skipped past it, and I was like, "No, Dad." I was really young,
Yeah.
and I was like, "I want to watch that," and he's like, "Okay, but if you get nightmares, you can't tell your mother because she's gonna be mad at me." And that was kind of, I guess that's where it all started. My fascination with zombies
I also
and
remember
horror.
when Dad was like you were into wrestling and Dad brought home like a cage fight.
It was like a vicious beatdown. It was not the fake wrestling. I immediately got like punched to death, and he turned it off.
I got really mad.
I forgot. That's hysterical.
That's a Dad thing to do.
He was trying to do something nice. It was not the fake put on a show.
No, it was mixed martial arts.
Yeah, it
MMA.
It was
was like
MMA.
vicious. It seems even worse than.
It was MMA before it got big, so it was all bets were off.
Yeah, but then there was, after I grew up some, I guess I had more presence of mind to be fearful. I couldn't just watch it passively as a toddler. So I didn't watch much horror because it would always freak me out. And then I remember, I don't even know if it was the first one I watched, but I remember the first horror movie I watched to enjoy it, and it was Hide and Seek with Robert De Niro and Dakota Fanning.
Just playing hide and seek with Robert De Niro is enough for a horror film.
Which I probably not even that great of a movie, but it really stuck with me. and I appreciated the twist, even though the twist, admittedly, like I think probably 60% of horror movies have the hide and seek twist.
Yeah.
But that was kind of where it started for me, and then I started getting into, horror more officially.
One of the horror movies I really remember is the Resident Evil, the mansion one. That was a real good one.
I remember
first one?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember our friends bringing it over and we all watched it.
Admittedly, probably the best one, because the first one is before they got really dumb.
Yeah, just the one where... just the scene where he's like dodging all the lasers.
The laser scene is great.
I mean, it's cool. It's actually a really good scene.
It's stupid when you realize the laser could have just turned into that lattice and
killed everyone.
cubed them immediately, but it is a very memorable scene.
Yeah.
And that was like before the series turned into basically a Saturday morning cartoon series with a multi-million-dollar budget. Yeah, so I guess watch the first Resident Evil movie, even though it's a horrible adaptation. But yeah, I grew up in the 90s, particularly the late 90s. That's when I became more into movies and stuff in the early 2000s. So I grew up in a period that was like way after the major hits, say like Halloween and Friday the 13th and those kind of things,
and Warriors,
and Nightmare on Elm Street. So I don't really have an affection for those movies.
Right.
Like I know they're classics, they're high watermarks, but like I rewatched them as long after the fact, long after they had.
It's like how I play very old video games.
Yeah, it's just I wasn't. When I finally did watch them, I wasn't that impressed because so much of film is copying all those movies.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've aged very well.
No,
they're kind of corny.
Don't.
So the series that I really gravitated to was the Saw series.
Oh my goodness.
Which I know the Saw series is honestly a bad series to tell people you're into, because it gets a real bad rap as like trashy torture porn. It basically started that. But I think calling it that is kind of a disservice, because why I always gravitated to it, why it always captured my imagination, if it's a weird thing to say about it, is just putting myself in those positions. Like, if I was trapped and the only way out was to like horribly disfigure myself, would I be able to do it? And that hook really captured me. And
we talked about this the last time. I remember my response. I would just kill myself. That was my.
I remember that. Yeah. So for me, it wasn't the slashers of the 80s and 70s. For me, it was the Saw series, and that's why one of the movies I'm going to suggest is Saw 2. Saw 1 is fine. Saw 2, I have an affection for, because it's kind of, it honestly doesn't happen anymore. It's kind of like event horror, where like, oh, it's another October, you got to see the latest installment, and it also is kind of another like minor genre of group of people in a bad situation getting killed off by whether monsters. That's kind of one of my favorite genres of all time. I don't even know what you call it. But
just like they're just being picked off as it goes along.
Yeah, and but there's a bunch of people in a death trap. I love death traps. I love death labyrinths. One of my favorite things. They don't happen nearly enough.
So that's what you've been working on lately.
Well, that's what he set up for us when he killed us. It was a death trap. Off the very end was the mini fridge. We ran in there, we opened it, exploded in fire. Yeah.
And I have not seen it in years, so it may not hold up. I just have a lot of affection for it. It was one of those movies as a teenager that I really enjoyed.
My relationship with horror has just been seeing minor bits as you watched it on the TV, essentially. So I remember the scene in Saw where he cuts his leg off. I remember that vividly. Yeah. I remember the scene in Sweeney Todd when where she's showing the little boy. I can't remember his name. Is it Todd or something?
Well, he's not Toby.
Toby.
Yeah.
And
Todd and Todd would be confusing.
Well, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
Little Todd, we named you after Big Todd.
Or she's grinding the meat and he doesn't know. That one scarred me at the time. No, it was really gross.
I've never really been into horror films.
Yeah, I know that you made
I remember Alien versus Predator.
yeah, that
I remember that one too.
Okay.
So we watched that one.
Terrible. Most Alien 2 is good. Most of the Alien and Predator films beyond the originals are horrible, especially the Predators, because at least Alien got 2 really good ones. Although I don't mind like Prometheus and stuff, even though they're much maligned films.
I remember you watching Pet Cemetery.
Yeah, that one is.
I just say
All I remember is the cat.
I'm not sure if
Yeah.
you consider it horror, but I really did like Red Dragon.
Yeah, that's kind of a horror thriller.
I guess I lean more towards thrillers.
It's a crime thriller, but it's way too scary to not be
I also
horror
what
at
was the
all.
one before that? The one where the
Silence of the Lambs?
yeah, those two.
Yeah, those are crime thrillers kind of first and foremost, but they have a dark beating heart of horror in there. So yeah, definitely would suggest those if you haven't seen them, but I mean like everyone's seen those.
I
at
like
this
Dead
point.
Space.
Yeah, the video game.
Yeah.
Are you guys watching
Yeah.
Poltergeist? I think it was.
Poltergeist
The one in the house.
is a classic. So yeah, I kind of broke my list into 2 chunks. The first is kind of older, early 2000s and before movies, where I would suggest the original Ring. Still, kind of, I saw that when I was young. Still one of the creepiest horror movie viewing experiences I've ever had.
Saw a tiny bit of that.
Just the production value on the content of the tape is masterful. That movie lives and dies by what you see in the videotape, and that is honestly one of the scariest things ever created, and that's partly why the movie works so well. But the first American, The Ring, is pretty brilliant. The second one, didn't care as much for it.
I just remember somebody escaping the TV. I think it was, or like her horror
Yeah,
world.
she eventually crawls out of it.
Yeah, that's all I saw of that one.
Yeah, that one.
I can tell you what little bits I've seen of each of these horror movies.
Yeah.
I think I've seen The Ring because most of the horror movies I watch is when we had sleepovers with our friends and then we'll watch them. And I think because I remember parts of The Ring. I think I watched it. I wasn't really into it, but you know.
I honestly want to rewatch it. It's really good.
Well, maybe
And-
it's October. Maybe we can watch some horror movies.
Yeah,
We can watch it. Like I said, I haven't really seen The Thing. I mean, I've seen
Clips.
an amalgamation that I can structure the film in my head, but
You guys kind of watch things through me. I was your cultural
Yeah, a little
osmosis.
bit.
Okay, so I'll try to rattle these off a little quicker. I love the Final Destination series.
oh my goodness.
It's garbage. It's in the worst taste imaginable. But for some reason, just the Rube Goldberg death scenes, I find them hysterical and super entertaining. So take that. All this is take it with a grain of salt. All these are my personal preferences. The Descent is really good. That one's really scary. It's a group of girls go spelunking and run into monsters.
Oh.
And even before the monsters, just crawling through super tight tunnels is horrifying to me.
You can pay a lot of money to do it, Billy.
Yeah, I know, and I would never in a million years go spelunking.
Well,
it's horrifying.
Also,
to me.
another form of horror that I like is cosmic horror because I really like H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, that's good. I want to see the new Nicolas Cage, The Color Out of Space,
Oh yeah.
which is
The one
H.P.
where the
Lovecraft.
meteorite hits the nearby
Yeah,
planet and drives
yeah.
everyone insane.
Yeah, that's what it's adaptation.
Nicolas Cage would meld into any of the H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah.
He's the
perfect
perfect
for it.
H.P. Lovecraft protagonist.
Yeah, he's
it'd be great.
literally-
It'd be great if he did Innsmouth. He's all like Fishman. Oh!
Because he's almost kind of like that old timey detective kind of thing, kind of noir style.
That's why he's good for Spider Noir.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would love to see him do that in real life.
Dude, Nick Cage with the rats in the wall.
Okay, and then there's Thirst. It's a 2009 Korean film by Park Chan-wook. I love all his movies. This one always stuck with me. It's not so much scary per se. It's just a really good and non-traditional vampire movie
Yeah.
that I really enjoyed. And then,
Asian vampire? Do they hop and they have the tag on their face and they hop around?
well, they do jump very high, but
yeah, that's a reference to
Those are
that.
they're not.
Wait,
Those are vampire. Hey, well,
they're zombies.
they're called vampires. You know, translated and
'cause
stuff.
they-
Look,
Suck your energy.
they're more like European vampires, but they do jump high.
Yeah, like I said, you know,
Those are jumping zombies. But go ahead. Go
And
ahead.
look, most of these films, if not all of them, should be viewed by adults only. Especially the next one I'm going to say, which is Martyrs, the original French version. Not for the faint of heart at all. Very, very with like gratuitous,
French.
violent, like disgusting. So definitely more. This is for extreme fans of extreme horror who aren't against seeing a little like torture and
I
stuff
thought
like
extreme horror was like they're getting chased by a zombie on a skateboard.
that. Well, that's a different kind of.
That's
extreme.
radical horror.
Yeah.
Radical horror.
Yeah, Martyrs is hard to. Maybe it's not that hard to explain. There's basically a cult that's trying to create martyrs in order to contact or see the next life. And the way they create more martyrs is like by horribly abusing someone. And that's all I'm going to say about it. This is probably the biggest like caveat. Only go into this if you're prepared for some horrifying stuff, okay? Only if you're an adult.
I think their feeder film is horrifying, though.
Yeah. And then I put Pan's Labyrinth, which is Guillermo del Toro film. A lot of people have probably seen this, but it's always stuck with
Another
me.
reference to the Spanish Civil War. Here we
Yeah.
are again.
You know, it's basically like a dark fairy tale during the Spanish Civil War. The thing that always stood out to me was that monster with eyeballs on his hand. Probably one of the scariest monsters in cinema. And then I have Audition, which is a Japanese horror movie by Takeshi Miike, and very weird and trippy about a man falling in love with this woman who turns out to be pretty terrifying. That is
So it's just regular marriage.
But yeah, this one also a caveat, but more for just how like non-linear and kind of surreal it is. Don't go into it looking for a traditional regular narrative. It also has a very disturbing scene of torture. It's not nearly as like prolonged as Martyrs or anything, but you won't look at like Wires the same way again. Okay, and then this is getting more into, and I'll rattle these off faster, more modern horror movies that I enjoyed. There's Hereditary. A lot of people have seen that. Ari Aster. Also Midsommar. I enjoyed Midsommar. I like Hereditary more. Then The Witch by Robert E. Egger, I think. He also did The Lighthouse. I also enjoyed The Lighthouse. It's kind of like Ari Aster, where I like his first film a bit better.
Right.
So The Witch is good. Then It Follows. That's the name of the movie, It Follows.
Yeah, we know It Follows. I know about that.
Yeah,
one.
it's the monster that follows you forever until you pass it on by having sex with someone. Then there's Climax, which is a little unusual because it's not a typical horror movie in that there's a monster or there's jump scares or stuff. It's a dance troupe, a French dance troupe, and someone spikes their punch with LSD and they all freak out for like an hour and 30 minutes. And it's entertaining. It's kind of like what you were talking about with the just nonstop, just like screaming and stuff. And I liked it. Probably a lot of people won't, but that's a Gaspar Noé.
Oh my goodness, French people on LSD. That's all you need to put on the poster. Just French people on LSD.
But Gaspar Noé is the name of the director. Then there's The Ritual, which has one of the coolest looking monsters in recent years. I won't spoil it, but it's got a cool monster. And there's I Saw the Devil.
It's your dad.
I Saw the Devil, which is a Japanese...
You did?
Yeah, it's a Korean serial killer movie. It Comes at Night. This movie got kind of... like people thought it was going to be more of a traditional horror, and that's why a lot of people who went into it at first kind of were disappointed by it. But to me, it works as kind of like just a harrowing look at human nature. It's like an apocalyptic movie.
Oh, okay.
But it focuses on a family.
I'm surprised apocalyptic horror isn't more big.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, there's a few here and there. But It Comes at Night is real subtle, and it is scary.
You don't even know it's an apocalypse till that's how subtle it is.
It's more like if just the idea of kind of like going out into the darkness of the woods is scary to you, it'll kind of work in that regard. Just the inherent scariness of life,
Yeah. It's like what Luke recommended.
Yeah.
My movie, apparently.
And then Green Room, which a little more fun because it's a punk rock group that get locked in their green room by a group of evil Nazis after they witness a murder, so they got to fight the Nazis. It's like one of the last screen appearances of wow, crud! I lost his name. Shoot, the guy in Star Trek who died.
Robert Nimoy?
No, Robert Nimoy.
Robert, what?
Who?
Yeah, him as a punker.
Well, Patrick Stewart is in it.
Oh,
weirdly
okay,
enough,
good.
he's like the head Nazi. But think about that young guy,
I knew it.
Anton Yelchin, who played in the new series, played Chekhov.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he's in it. And then there's Mom and Dad, speaking of Nicolas Cage,
Oh,
where
yeah.
there's a virus where parents start to kill their kids. That one, not the best movie in the world. The ending could use work, but it's Nicolas Cage freaking out, so I got to sign off on it. Then there's The Guest and You're Next by Adam Wingard. I like both those movies. Then Train to Busan, which is a great modern zombie movie. I believe that's Korean. They're trapped in a train and they're zombies. Then there's The Clove Hitch Killer, which is a great kind of small town serial killer movie where this kid suspects his dad might be a serial killer. And then there's Bone Tomahawk, which is another movie with a caveat. It's a horror western
Oh, okay, cool.
with a scene, probably the most horrifying scene of violence I've ever seen in a movie, right in the middle. So I'm warning people before you go into it. If you've never seen someone bisected while still alive, you need to get prepared for this,
I see.
basically. But it's a great film. Okay, so sorry to go a little long there. That's my list of horror movies. That's I guess I've kind of been saving it up. So I think like my future list will probably be shorter because it'll be movies I've seen recently.
Yeah. I'm really surprised that you didn't have Unfriended, Slenderman.
You're surprised by
Internet
this.
Killer or whatever. Truth or Dare.
Look, I only have quality on my list, okay?
No, you don't. You have Final Destination on there.
That's true, yeah.
He has certain qualities on his list.
Like, I give you a wide
Is Home
spread.
Alone a horror movie?
If you're a wet bandit, yes. Okay, well, let's go ahead and wrap this sucker up and get back to our review. I'll rattle off the pros and cons. So, cons. It's an adaptation of an Asian horror movie, which is always a bad start, usually. The ghost genre needs some changes, definitely.
Yeah.
Needs
some beefing up.
Need a swift
Yeah.
kick in the pants.
Yeah. The movie is pretty hokey overall, at least according to that article. The movie has a grudge against itself.
And a grudge against Hollywood
Yeah.
and the people, which in turn comes back to the grudge against itself.
Yeah. It's not scary enough to even make you emote. It'll leave you expressionless. And ultimately, it's a Japanese propaganda piece. Okay, now for the pros. The ghost is really into hygiene, so it's a pretty good role model for kids. It's leading on to it's kind of the pilot for the Ghost World franchise, where people have to live with ghosts in their everyday lives and learn to get around it. It's a non-linear film, which I feel like I can't remember if we've done a pro or a con as that before. But
It's not linear.
yeah. It features the jerks who just ruined the movie and ended up in it.
Well, they didn't ruin the
Or
movie
they tried to.
because it was well implemented.
Yeah.
So they really did the best out of a bad situation.
And it's a fish out of water story because it's the Japanese ghost coming to America.
Trying to figure out what
Yeah.
scares Americans,
Yeah.
and getting up all kinds of hype.
There's that cultural divide because she's putting the number 4 everywhere because it means death, and then we're just like, it's number 4. You
Yeah.
know, it's that kind
Change
of
it
thing.
to third grade. Oh my goodness!
Then it's a horror type suspense thriller and horror. I forgot
Oh,
about
good,
that
yes.
one. Yeah, and then the pro con, it's a silent film, which depending on who you are, may not enjoy that too much, or it might be an interesting novelty. Who knows?
Yeah.
So with that in mind, we have to review this movie.
Well, the movie itself
Lose my voice.
is both somehow boring and needs work, but also incredibly interesting. Because
Yeah.
it's a fish out of water story that we've never really seen before in terms of horror of this ghost who comes to America
Apparently, ghosts are contagious.
and didn't even realize how many other ghosts were in America. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of competition in the ghost world, as we know, and the grudge situation is very complicated because there's grudges upon grudges. Even the movie is a massive grudge. So I really think, bearing all that, I'm just gonna give it 35%.
Okay. Yeah.
The idea could use work. It seems all over the place. I like a lot of the elements, but it just needs to put together. But I might I'm gonna bump it up. I was thinking about because I like the jerks. I forgot about
the jerks are good.
The jerks are really interesting. I think I'll do 45.
Okay.
If it had been implemented just a little bit better, I think it would have worked overall. But it seems like it had some problems.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from. It feels like there's a lot of great ideas in here.
Just gotta trim the fat. Maybe take some ideas and make them their own movie, rather than trying to do a Grudge series and then make a Ghost World and get the jerks out of there. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, they're cool and interesting, but they don't really make a cohesive film.
Yeah, they disrupted the storyline. Let's say as a kind of like curio piece, I find it super interesting. It feels like all these kind of like artistic and experimental ideas were sort of piled on top of what is essentially a very rote, rip-off of a Japanese horror film.
Yeah. The director, I don't think had great control. I think a lot of
the jerks took away all this
the
control.
jerks took away the control.
Yeah.
Interns were coming in, throwing ideas on top. Even like the wait staff. I think
Wait, hold on a second. Are the jerks just upper management?
they're producers.
Yeah. The producers didn't have faith in the film, so they sent the jerks to sabotage it, and they ended up in the movie. So yeah, I'm kind of thinking the same thing, a similar kind of review. I'm thinking maybe a 48. I might give it a few extra points, simply because as a ghost myself, as I'm figuring out, I kind of got to support my
found
brethren.
The twist.
Yeah, I figured it out. I am Bruce Willis. Oh wait, no, I'm not Bruce Willis because I'm actually engaged with the podcast,
which is a real shame because we couldn't get our revenge for our grudge.
Yeah.
So now we got to go off to Ghost Court after this. And it's gonna take weeks and months to get this whole situation resolved.
Ton of ghost money. Gonna lose so much ghost money.
Oh, I know.
You know how hard it is to kill money and turn it into a ghost? It ain't easy. Trust me.
What about you, Luke?
Well, me, from my point of view.
Ghosts are evil.
Well, I'm more interested in the fact that it's Japanese propaganda.
Okay, yeah.
That's the true horror right there.
That's the
meant to demoralize our good boys in blue, Muldoon and
Wilson.
Yeah. Well, you see, I would be more offended if I wasn't dead. I no longer have a stock in the
Also, since
affairs.
now I'm dead, the cute Japanese transfer student girl, living in bathtubs, and because this is a scary movie, I'm going to give it a 44 for Double Death.
Yeah,
for all our Japanese viewers,
if a girl die, if a teen girl dies, is it wrong then if when you die as an adult for you to try to date her?
I think you should date within your mortal coil.
I see.
Like you shouldn't. If you're alive, you shouldn't date ghosts. If you're a ghost, you shouldn't.
No, I'm saying that if you're a dead adult, can you date a dead teen, or is that illegal?
Well, I think it's legal because age no longer has meaning.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. But do you wait?
You become immortal.
You wait a couple of years to where she would have been. I don't know.
I don't think it works like that, Billy.
Okay, when you're dead,
you both become immortal beings at that
right.
point. So there's no aging and de-aging. So it's an irrelevant question.
I gotcha.
It applies to living relationships. So if you want to do that, kill yourself first.
We got 45.6 repeating.
All right. Seems pretty fair.
Really disappointed we didn't get 44 repeating.
Yeah, that would have been. We do have a 4 in it.
I chose 44 because
we all have a 4
I watch my anime, so I know.
We all have a 4 in our score.
Very fitting. Okay, The Grudge. The critics gave it 20%. And the audience gave it 23. So, so probably one of the closest consensuses we've ever had. It's a dull and derivative.
But the critics are still wrong.
Dull and derivative, the rebooted Grudge wastes the talented cast and filmmaker on watered-down scares that may leave viewers nursing grievances of their own. So we all got our Grudge jokes in.
Yeah, that's kind of why I hate the movie, is because it spawns Grudge jokes everywhere.
You can't hate the movie for that. Billy did one.
The audience is in the VIP again.
Where's Francis E. Dick? I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. You'll probably try to mail off his letters to them, but he's upgraded to writing.
But he knows all of us because he's in the internet. He's seen all our Facebook pages. He's in our emails. He knows everything. All right. Well, this has been our extra long Halloween episode.
Yep.
Thank you as always for listening. Were you going to say something, Jake? Or?
Nope.
Okay. Sorry, just cut you off. So, as always, you can contact us on email at muchreviewam@gmail.com.
Were you gonna say something, Jake?
Stop!
I guess I was.
I'm always terrible at this ending. I've done it many times, but I need to write a script for this too, apparently. We're on Twitter at MuchReviewPod. I'm on Twitter at Super Gruesome. We're also on Facebook at MuchReviewPod. You know, please send us your favorite horror movies or a suggestion for another horror movie or just regular movie we can review.
We want to thank our patron.
Yes, we want to thank Mike Ehrmantraut, our patron, and we want to invite everyone to check out the Patreon and kind of listen to the free material we do have on there.
Rate us on any website you want to.
Yeah,
you know, just
Apple would be great. Apple, the reviews matter. And, you know, in honor of the season, I thought I'd plug the small comic I did about Gothic superheroes.
Oh, yeah.
You can get that on Gumroad, gumroad.com/BD Greer Comics, and you can get it for free. You can read it in probably just a few minutes. It's really short, so check that out. And I guess that about wraps it up. We'll talk at you later.
Yep.
I've been your host, Billy Greer.
I've been Jake Greer with Donald.
And I did Luke Greer with these chuckle nuts.
And we've been all dead the whole time.
Yeah,
But you already do that, so.
Are you going to put a jump scare at the end?
I guess so. Yeah.
Loud noises!
Thank you for listening and have a happy, horrifying Halloween.